Hello and welcome to the training session on Outside Voices, Language Learning in the Outdoors, specific for early years. So the goal of this training session is to really explore how spending time outside and utilising nature can really help to develop and support children's early language and communication skills. This training session will explore how the invitations for play that we set up and offer to children in the outdoors can really help to boost their levels of engagement and also invite them to play in a way that matches their own interests, and also how this provides a really open-ended environment for children to develop and play and explore in. So in this training session, we will be looking at how and why the outdoors can positively impact language and communication skills for children in the early years. We'll look at why language and communication skills are really fundamental for children's development. And then we will look at the early years framework. We'll explore how it's reinforcing the importance of language for learning and how the development of children's spoken language is underpinned by all 7 areas of learning and development. We'll also look at what is meant by an enabling environment and how the outdoors is this. We'll look at ideas for ways to develop play and ideas that you can sort of put into your outdoor environment with natural and open-ended materials that will help children to be engaged and interested and have that awe and wonder within their exploration when they're outside. We'll also look at how our programme specifically supports children in the early years. So our Jigsaw PSHE 3 to 11 includes our early years children. So when we say 3 to 5, we're referring to nursery age 3 to 4 and reception 4 to 5 within our content and our programme. And we'll also look briefly at the Jigsaw Outdoors programme, which really supports the PSHE programme and provides an additional session to really complement all of the learning that's happening. Although we refer to Jigsaw PSHE, we recognise that early years does refer to it as PSED, and so this language is interchanged within the training session to reflect the requirements from the early years framework as well as the Jigsaw PSHE programme. So just before we start, a little bit about myself. So my name is Amy Jones. I'm Programme Lead for Jigsaw Outdoors and Jigsaw Games, and I'm also an early years specialist, having worked as a primary school teacher, specifically in reception for 6.5 years. Prior to working in a reception classroom, I was also a teaching assistant, higher level teaching assistant across Key Stage 1 and early years for several years, and I also taught Jigsaw throughout my entire time in education and absolutely loved it. So it's a real privilege for me to actually be delivering these materials to you today and really sharing my passion for the outdoors through this. In early years, there are lots of natural opportunities to get children outside as part of the requirement to actually spend parts of the day in the outdoors. It's a really good opportunity to kind of boost that, make the most of it, and really focus on why that is so good for children. So let's get stuck in. Outside Voices, language learning in the outdoors for early years. So what does research tell us? According to an ICANN charity and its reports, speech, language and communication skills are fundamental to children's social, emotional and educational development. These skills are essential for making needs known, expressing likes and dislikes, and interacting with others, making relationships, building friendships. Speech, language and communication is vital for children's mental health and well-being because they form the foundations for emotional expression, social interaction and learning. And just to mention as well, I'm not a qualified speech and language therapist, but I do have the passion and interest in the outdoors and how the outdoors is research driven in terms of being able to really provide a fantastic environment for children to feel comfortable, engaged and able to kind of express their interests, their needs, their wants. And research tells us that the outdoors is a really great space to do this in. So research tells us that many children face speech, language and communication difficulties, which can impact on a variety of factors. This can include difficulties with expressing themselves and having their needs and wants clearly met. It can impact on social interactions and therefore difficulties with making friendships. Children may have difficulties with learning and engaging in the classroom, and therefore that could impact on being able to succeed later on in school life. Some of these things can also lead to children feeling really frustrated if they're not able to have their needs, wants, and also be able to exchange in back and forth conversations with others. This can lead to high levels of frustration or anxiety, and therefore could be misinterpreted as having behavioural difficulties. This can have a real effect on children's mental health. So while some children may face these specific challenges and therefore require individualised and tailored support from speech and language therapists, this training is more about how the outdoors can benefit all children, and it will highlight how the outdoors fosters the development of language skills through exploration, creative play and meaningful interactions with peers, enriching learning for all children. So we'll be thinking about what we can do to support all children within the classroom to develop communication and language skills. So there are increasing concerns about the number of children who are starting school with poor speech, language and communication skills, particularly from children who are from socially disadvantaged families, where research shows that they are actually more than twice as likely to be identified with a speech, language and communication need. The ICANN report, which was done in 2024, suggests that over 50% of children in England start school without the language skills necessary for learning, making friends and reading, which is really quite significant. So we need to be thinking about what we can do to support all children with communication and language. And this may include, but not limited to, delayed language, limited vocabulary, difficulty understanding and following instructions, and also with forming sentences and having fragmented speech. So in this session we're going to really explore these things and look at how the outdoors can really support that, and also the direct links back to PSED and how this is really important for children's development. The first thing to consider is that language is really complex, and it's a really complex process. There is still so much that researchers are learning about early language acquisition. Communication is more than a simple exchange of words. It's a multi-layered process involving verbal and non-verbal cues, understanding the context and expressing thoughts and emotions. So we need to be able to support children in developing these three skills: receptive language, so the language that children understand; expressive language, which is the language that children use; and pragmatic language, which is the social use of their language. By supporting children's communication really early on, children can improve not only their academic performance later on, but also their emotional well-being and ability to form relationships with others, which we know is really important. The Early Years Foundation Stage framework places a really great emphasis on the importance of language and communication. The framework reinforces that the development of children's spoken language underpins all 7 areas of learning and development. Children's back and forth interactions from an early age form the foundations for language and cognitive development. Within the early years framework, we have the 3 prime areas of development: personal, social and emotional development, so PSED, communication and language, and physical development. And these form the foundation of a child's growth. This is why they are the prime areas, and they are particularly sensitive in the first 3 years due to rapid brain development, and missed milestones during this crucial stage are harder to engage and address later on. So early interactions and experiences must support growth in these areas. The DFE expand on this further. They explain that communication and language development are crucial to children's social, emotional and educational development, and being able to express themselves, understand others and participate in conversations form the foundations for literacy and success in school and life. So how can the outdoors play a role in supporting children with their communication and language? So this is where we get onto the really fun stuff now, of really exploring how the outdoors is so great and can really help and support children with their language and communication skills. So what does the research say? There is so much information and research findings on the benefits of outdoor play for language development. A research report found that time spent in nature positively impacts children's language, quoting that outdoor engagement with nature may also impact children's language and communication skills. Movement is also said to be a child's first language. We know that motor development influences language development, so learning to move helps children learn to talk, so it's got that spiral effect. For example, a baby who is learning to sit into me is also beginning to position their lungs in their rib cage, so it's those foundational skills that have a later impact. In the outdoors, children have the space. They have the space to engage in bigger movements that incorporate language. Whether they're running, jumping, climbing, children use language to narrate their stories, their actions, to express excitement and to coordinate with their peers. Through movement, children develop a deeper understanding of spatial concepts. They build vocabulary related to their surroundings, and they strengthen their communication skills in really dynamic ways. Being outdoors has a really positive impact on a child's sense of well-being, and it really helps to develop all aspects of their development. It offers opportunities for doing things in different ways, and it offers a whole new learning environment, totally different to the indoors. The outdoors gives children experiences of things that you really just can't do unless you actually experience it, such as the weather, the seasons and the natural world, and all of those lovely things that children will encounter from being in the outdoors. They're met with objects and materials that may ignite interest and may invite an awe and wonder. Outdoor environments offer children the freedom to explore, the space to use their senses and to engage with them, and also to be physically active, which has a real great spiral effect on language and communication. So it always comes back to this. Communication continues to be a real high priority in early years setting, as does being in the outdoors. Combine this, we are enriched with something that really provides a wealth of benefits for children. Outdoor play can have a real significant positive impact on language and communication and vocabulary skills. Children in the early years foundation stage benefit from spending a lot of time learning through play in the outdoors, whatever the weather. For children, language is intricately woven into their sense of self and belonging. Outdoor environments offer really unique opportunities for children to explore through their identities and also through language. Whether they're engaging in imaginative play, pretending to be somebody and step into a role play of a character, or describing the natural world around them and asking questions and wondering what they can see or smell or hear. They'll also be negotiating with their peers and developing friendships through these interests that they experience whilst they're in the outdoors. The outdoor space also provides a canvas for children to experiment with language and delve deeper into understanding who they are. The number and quality of conversations that they have with their adults and also peers in their classroom or setting throughout the day in a language-rich environment is really crucial for children in the early years. For adults, by commenting on what children are interested in or on what they're doing, really helps to echo back what they say with vocabulary added. Practitioners will also be building children's language effectively that's linked to their interests. Commenting on what you can see or what you're observing really helps to give children the language for themselves to use within their own play. Children develop strong language skills when they're involved in playful, language-rich environments with opportunities to learn lots of new words. So having these real great hands-on practical experiences encourages learning and provides a context for new words to be explored. For example, it's easier for children to learn vegetable names in the allotments if they're touching and having the opportunity to taste them. We can also enjoy lots of songs and rhymes in the outdoors, and it's a really great way to explore the sounds and patterns of words. Poems with actions, for example, and having lots of opportunities for repetition help children to understand the structure of spoken language and explore new words. We can also choose stories that lend themselves well to the outdoors. Stories like We're Going on a Bear Hunt, some of those real classic stories that are used in the early years, but actually taking that story into the outdoors and experiencing it in a really playful way. What does the swishy swashy grass feel like? Can you feel this oozy thick mud on your welly boots? Having those opportunities to kind of step into the book and actually experience what it feels like enables children to develop their language and communication skills when they have the real experiences of these things. We can also create areas within our outdoors that support language and opportunities for children to talk. We can create smaller zones and audit these areas to see how we can actually prompt rich language. So for example, when you're thinking about your outdoor space, consider if you've got zones for language, creating distinct areas for different types of play and different types of talk. So you may have storytelling circles or a space for children where they may like to sit with peers quietly or even on their own and look at books in the outdoors. You may have role play zones that encourage specific types of language use, like den building, construction with large resources like tyres and wooden blocks and recycled materials. You might also have a deconstructed role play area that includes these recycled materials on a large scale. Tubes, boxes, tubs, materials and fabrics. They lend themselves well to open-ended play. This can also lead to kind of using imaginative play and having that dialogue within their peers and within friendship groups. We can also have areas that include resources like loose parts, so similar to recycled materials but on a smaller scale. Resources that are natural like shells or recycled things that you might find and that you could use in the outdoors, but also little things like pine cones or conkers that also link to the season, so it gives children that experience of change. We can have natural resources beyond that, such as pebbles as well, or we could use plants and have opportunities to play with water and sand to inspire sort of descriptive language and prompt communication and conversation. Having open-ended props as well, like hats, fabrics and shoes, rather than specific dressing up materials or costumes. By having open-ended props, children can be who they want to be and step into a character of their choice, and that prompts that imaginative thinking and play. We can also use these resources in more than one way. So for example, a steering wheel, something that's round in shape could be used for a car, but it also could be a boat or a rocket or whatever a child is interested in, which can really support their play. If we're looking at what the child is interested in and what they enjoy, this really supports language communication. Setting up invitations to play, like the photo you can see on the screen at the bottom, it's inviting children to come and have a look, to tinker and to explore what they can see, and it provides an opportunity for children to kind of explore without there being sort of rules of an activity. It's that playful way of the early years that really helps to kind of enhance the experience for them in the outdoors, that then lends itself to developing language communication skills. Within the outdoors, we can also use literacy, so embedding signs and labels and posters which have words and images to create a print-rich environment. We don't want to go overboard on this because actually it's not about children reading things, it might just be to inspire them to notice things. So in the mud kitchen, if you have an area where children can kind of mix water, mud and leaves and create mud pies and all those kinds of things, you might have opportunities for children to make menus or to ask a friend if they can take their order and write it down. So it's having those kind of opportunities that invite children to play, that continue the play as well, and take it that one step further, which can really support language communication skills. So how do we do all of this? This quote is from a lady called Julie Turner, and she's the head of centre, and I pulled this from a research article from the DFE, and it says, outdoor play adds another dimension to children's learning. It's not about what you've got outside, but it's how you maximise its use that makes a difference. So this really stood out to me because actually it's not about creating an environment that looks beautiful, and although there's lots of fantastic inspiration that you might find on Google Images search and Pinterest, and you might be thinking, oh, I don't have all of those things, it's about how we can actually make the most of what we do have in our natural environment and the space that we have in our setting to support the children. So even if you don't have, a big forest, school or a big site kind of develop, loads of different areas, consider what you do have and think about how you can maximise the spaces that you've already got. What works currently for your children? What is it that they are engaging in? Could you expand on that? Could you add something in that you think would lend itself to the interests of the children in your class? These things will need to be tweaked and changed each year depending on your cohort and depending on kind of what interests they have as well. So it's one of those things that you kind of have to consider and reflect on and adapt as you go throughout the year too. So when we are thinking about enhancing our outdoor environment, we should be viewing our outdoor space or our outdoor garden as another environment in which to learn. This is why I often like to call it the garden, because actually it gives it that outdoor, it gives the outdoors sort of a name, a space, like the classroom. We don't call it the indoors necessarily. We might say, come on into the classroom and then go on out and explore into the garden. It invites children to be free to develop their own play, to think creatively and be ambitious and curious. Just like when we are inside the classroom, we need to think about how the characteristics of effective learning can be really encouraged when we're outside. We need to be thinking about how are we inviting children to solve problems, to overcome challenge and show high levels of engagement and curiosity towards their learning when they're outside. These things all interlap and interconnect, and we know that the characteristics of effective learning describe behaviours that children use in order to learn. And to learn well, children must approach opportunities with curiosity, energy and enthusiasm. Effective learning must be meaningful to a child so that they are able to use what they have learned and apply it to new situations. Through having fun outside and feeling safe to explore, children will be naturally encouraged to follow their own interests and ideas, which helps to develop language and communication. Being outside also brings opportunities to be aware of the natural environment, the seasons and life cycles in a really meaningful way. So the different spaces that we have outside will provide lots of experiences and provide opportunities to develop vocabulary. In a wooded area, for example, children may hide and climb trees. In an allotment, children can grow vegetables and make compost, or they can observe birds in the nesting boxes. They may look for bugs under rocks, and even down to the really simple things that are really meaningful to children, and the resources that we offer to children, such as having chalks to draw and explore with, or carrying a clipboard to investigate, take notes and explore, are really meaningful and important to children because they support their chosen play and their interests, which, as I've said, links back again to the language and communication aspect. The guiding principle is that resources should generally be really flexible and allow children to be creative and have the freedom to develop their own play in a way that's special to them. So it's good to kind of consider now and think about what areas in your outdoor environment when small group conversations can take place. Do you have those areas, and what are they? Are they working for your children? It's great to kind of reflect on this and think about what your environment offers your children and how you can take it that step further to really be thinking about how all of these things come back to the PSED and how that transpires to developing communication and language. Are there opportunities for children to reflect? Are there opportunities to be still and quiet? Whilst in the outdoors, we may have outside voices in the sense of being free to be loud and creative and have those bigger movements. But some children do also like to go outside to have that moment of stillness and quiet. So are we providing those opportunities to have that reflection time and thinking space where children can whisper and talk quietly with their peers? We have noise levels for different types of play, opportunities for children to relax and talk, and also to watch other play from a distance. These spaces need to be comfortable for children to sit and relax, so having little logs to perch on or den building materials with canvases for them to sit under and hear the trickle of the rain. Having open-ended resources offer different materials to trigger inquisitive thinking and curiosity language. Children may ask questions and wonder. So all of these things transpire to having a really language-rich environment. So in our Jigsaw programme, Jigsaw PSHE 3 to 11, we provide teaching and learning materials for teachers and practitioners working with children in the early years. So when we refer to early years 3 to 5, that includes reception children and nursery children. Nursery children being 3 to 4 and reception 4 to 5. And we have designed a really comprehensive programme which recognises the importance of language and communication. We know that this area of the learning interconnects and is a prime area of learning that's important for PSED. Our EYFS materials are designed with the child at heart, as is all of our Jigsaw programme teaching and learning materials. Our weekly lesson plans provide opportunities for direct teaching, which then leads into learning through play. So actually our direct teaching part of the session is relatively short compared to the opportunities that we offer and invite and suggest to the practitioners to really send the children off into play, because we know that that is actually where children learn the best, when they've got a scaffolded environment in which to explore in. Jigsaw has designed and suggested ideas and activities to invite children to learn through play, which supports the weekly learning intentions. So each puzzle, which is used as a theme for each term, encompasses a termly document called Let Me Play. This document provides lots of guidance for teachers and practitioners in terms of providing provision, which is supporting both continuous and enhanced, and links the indoors and the outdoors environment in a really meaningful way. So within this, we have carefully designed questions and prompts for adults to use when adults are working with children and supporting play, to really develop PSED and their communication and language. Within the Jigsaw EYFS lessons, we also have different components of a session. So we always begin with something called Calm Me, an opportunity to gather the children together and to have a quiet moment reflecting on our thoughts and our feelings, and to regulate our bodies to get us ready in an optimum state for learning. This is really about mindfulness and giving children that moment just to pause and be still and calm. We then lead into an Interest Me section, which then invites the children to actually think about what it is that we're exploring in this session that links directly to PSED. And the Interest Me and the Help Me Learn sections are designed to be short and concise. This then gives the children the opportunity to learn through play and give more opportunities for children to have the space to communicate and interact with their peers in their classroom in a way that makes them feel comfortable. This is also purposefully written in this way because it's meaningful to the child when they have the opportunities to follow their interests and play in their classroom or their outdoor space. So circle time is a really great way to connect smaller groups or large groups of older children, but often in the early years it's a long time to expect a large group of, say, usually 30 children to sit still and listen to peers without starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable or fidgety due to that developmental ability of being able to do that for a long time. We recognise that here at Jigsaw, and we place the biggest emphasis on enabling uninterrupted time to play in a high quality and enabling environment. So our Let Me Play guidance provides lots of ideas and ways to encourage language and communication with a PSHE lens, designed to encourage children to feel comfortable to share ideas and opinions in a play-based way. This also removes the pressure from children who may feel uncomfortable or shy when speaking in a large group. So therefore they still get that opportunity to kind of share their thoughts, their feelings and their ideas in a space that actually is reflective of what they're interested in and feeling comfortable and confident to do so. So within our Let Me Play guidance for each term, we refer to a resource called Talking Tins, which is a small audio recording device designed to record and play back your voice. We introduce these in the Be in My World puzzle as part of the enhanced provision, because then we provide children the opportunity to play and explore and have fun with recording and re-recording their voice. And then the Talking Tin becomes an integral part of the enhanced provision, whereby the adults use them to record themselves asking open-ended questions. These are then placed directly into the environment for children to access during their play. An example of this includes recording messages made by adults to prompt discussion that links directly to the direct teaching part of the session. So the Talking Tin may have a question whereby the Jigsaw character friend, Jigsaw Genie, asks a question such as, how could you be kind to someone today? And when this question is asked, when children are actually in their comfortable setting where they're enjoying their play with their peers, it provides them an opportunity to kind of listen and respond in that one-to-one or small group way, where they are more likely to actually respond and talk amongst themselves. The guidance also provides ways adults can model language through play, so providing sentence starters or prompts which again link directly back to the direct teaching and the theme of the puzzle. So this might include sentence starters like my favourite, or I like, or I do not like. It might also include opportunities to model phrases such as, can I have a turn please? Asking children lots of questions can be overwhelming, and it can also be really off-putting, especially when they're engaged in making a wonderful tower, and the adults asking lots of questions, or what have you made, or what, sometimes it can actually put them off a little bit and obscure their kind of thought process. So we know that commenting or noticing what a child is doing is actually much more effective at having a meaningful conversation. When we do use questions, our Let Me Play guidance offers ideas for these, such as tell me about, or I wonder, how can we, or how did you, rather than asking them direct questions about what it is that they're doing. We know that books as well are really great at helping develop children's language and communication skills, and so within the Jigsaw EYFS materials we have always included a range of suggested stories, so stories which lend themselves to the PSED themes, and also these stories can really be enjoyed outdoors, so putting them in the outdoor garden for children to lie in or sit in different ways that make them feel comfortable, so that might be on a bench or under a tree, lying on their tummy or perched on a log. By thinking carefully about how the physical space can trigger speaking and listening between children can really make a great impact. So within the Let Me Play guidance, we also include a section which is all about enhanced provision, how we can enhance the provision to align with the PSED learning that's happening within the direct teaching. So each lesson is provided with suggested ideas and activities for children to experience in a play-based way. So this could include open-ended experiences which lend themselves well to developing language, vocabulary and communication skills. This might include using natural materials and resources such as the mud kitchen, using fallen materials like pine cones, leaves and sticks, or playing games outdoors such as What's the Time, Mr. Wolf and Farmers in the Den. Combining language with movement encourages children to explore their own voice through play. So the enhanced provision always includes a range of outdoor experiences for children. So this example here is of a bug hunt outside, and just thinking about this one enhanced provision, which is all about exploring the theme of everybody's unique and everyone is different, just like mini beasts. Every mini beast has its own unique traits, and then in the blue text you can kind of see how that lends itself well to kind of developing vocabulary and interacting with language and communication skills. So children might be noticing what they can see about it. They might be commenting phrases such as it's so slimy or wow. It might also be opportunities for children to kind of engage in dialogue with their peers, and it develops lots of curiosity, that awe and wonder, whilst also providing opportunities for children to hear language from their peers as well. And finally, we also provide a programme called Jigsaw Outdoors. Jigsaw Outdoors is a programme which complements Jigsaw 3 to 11, and it provides an additional session per each term which supports the puzzle, and it essentially provides outdoor learning, specifically a session all in the outdoors, and acts as the 7th lesson piece. So this is a really great way to kind of enhance the outdoor experiences that your children in the earlier settings will be having, which directly link back to PSED. The outdoor lesson plans provide lots of opportunities for children to experience, experiment and explore their outdoor space. So the lesson plans are suitable for early years and link directly to learning intentions that support the PSED part of the framework. Also, our Jigsaw Outdoor lesson plans include songs, which include learning about PSHE in the outdoors, and have specific language included about seasons and the weather. We also provide a comprehensive pack of materials to support every session, which include clear visuals and pictures used as vocabulary prompts to help children to spot and look for and identify things in nature. And the programme also really helps to encourage a positive mindset about going out whatever the weather. It helps children to learn resilience and preparedness and flexibility. And so we encourage this phrase of whatever the weather by helping children to build positive mindset, to reframe what we say to children when talking about the area, outdoors area. So instead of, oh, it's really cold outside today, we can reframe that by thinking about what we can actually wear to ensure that we still feel comfortable and can enjoy the outdoors and have lots of fun and learn. So the Jigsaw Outdoors is a really great way to actually ensure that you're spending lots of time outdoors. That really enhances the PSHE that you're doing in the classroom. So before we come to a close, I just want you to pause for a moment and consider, what can you take away from this training today? Try to think carefully about your outdoor space. How does it invite children to play? Is your space reflective of the children and their interests? And how could you enhance it further to ignite conversations, discussions between children and the adults? I hope you found the training session really useful today. It'd be great to hear your feedback, thoughts and comments. And if you do have a go at enhancing your outdoor space to support children in the early years, please do send us a message, contact us on our social pages. We'd love to hear how you're getting on. Thank you so much, and if you'd like to hear any more about our Jigsaw PSHE 3 to 11 programme or the Jigsaw Outdoors programme, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us.